The tale began in a castle where three young maids found themselves entwined in conversation while diligently tackling the laundry. As they scrubbed and rinsed, their arms weary from the arduous work. "Why is there so much laundry?" she asked, her voice echoing the exhaustion in her muscles. With a mischievous grin, she flexed her arms, showcasing biceps that could rival a seasoned blacksmith's. Another girl realized she didn't have muscles like that. They decided to take a break and went back, but she warned that going back early would only result in more work. "We are already exhausted. We really can't afford to do that." Both girls expressed their reluctance. The conversation shifted as they collectively observed Princess Grace. Surprisingly, they asked how she knew all this. She revealed that until a few months ago, she was that princess. She explained that she was born as the princess of a small kingdom. Her mother passed away when she was only 10 years old, and her father immediately brought in a new queen. Despite feeling lonely and missing her mother, she tried to be a faithful princess to her new family. The new queen promised to turn her into an elegant and beautiful princess, but soon the princess found herself subjected to abuse in the name of education. The queen scolded her and threatened her with a whip, making her uncomfortable in a suffocating corset and heavy dress. In the next scene, the queen scolded the princess again and was about to beat her when her father arrived. The queen tried to defend herself, and the princess pleaded for help, but her father commended the queen, saying she was doing great. Feeling helpless, Princess Sienna wondered if it was all her fault. She just wanted to be happy. She hated this type of family. She thought she'd rather it just disappeared, but never thought that would actually happen. At the age of 18, the castle fell to the imperial army in a half day and conquered the continent, led by the bloody Prince Rashid, the crown prince of the Lebanon Empire. There was no response to our letters, so he came here personally. He asked the king, will he surrender now or not? She said to her father if they surrendered now, he might let them live. Her father said he would never beg for his life from invaders like him. "Just kill me." Princess was crying. Bloody Prince just slashed him with his sword and then said, "You will get what you desire." This must be an accomplishment. He didn't bow his head to the invaders to the very end. I will make sure that's not to be forgotten. Rest in peace. Now he moved forward to the princess. She admitted to not leading a very happy life, but expressed a desire for it not to end like this. She begged him to spare her life, willing to do anything. He inquired, "Anything?" She acknowledged that she wasn't a seductive beauty and lacked gentle charms. She wasn't unrivaled in beauty, and many considered her dull-looking. Despite this, she was healthy and knew how to do beautiful embroidery and make fragrant tea. Therefore, she suggested working as a maid instead. Sienna questioned, "Did I really spew such nonsense? Ugh, what should I do now?" Expressing a desire to see a pretty face, she reflected on Thay, a swordsman purported to be unparalleled on the continent. However, she speculated that he might have exploited the enemy's fascination with his own looks before going on a cutting spree. This led Sienna to wonder if she had been rejected from the interview. To her surprise, the prince declared, "As you wish, you shall be a maid in the imperial palace." Saul was instructed to loosen the rope, marking her survival and gratitude toward the royal majesty and the crown prince. In awe of her new life, Sienna became a trainee maid for the empire, transitioning from a princess to a maid. Despite the drastic change, she found joy in everyday tasks, making bread and cleaning clothes and tending to the garden. Contrasting her previous life of tight corsets and forced smiles, she reveled in the newfound freedom, expressing a wish to live as a maid for the rest of her life. 3 other maids arrived, expressing disapproval towards her actions that went beyond their duties. They questioned her eagerness to impress high-ranking maids and reminded her to know her place. Was told she would never become an official maid. The princess, observing the situation, felt confused, likening her thoughts to goldfish poop. Another maid, whose name is Choo Choo, intervened, accusing Jean of harassing a quiet maid, and warned her to stop, threatening to report to the senior maids. She was left speechless by the confrontation. In the conversation between Princess and Choo Choo, she said, "I thought about it for a while and gave some advice. But this pair, all right, have fun playing with these poor kids who have nothing." Then those maids said, "Try doing whatever you like for free and kick the water bucket." Choo Choo looked at them with an angry face. Then they ran away. Choo-Choo said, "Hey, don't just sit still and take their hits. Don't you think they are bothering you more because you're quiet?" Sina asked. "Does that bother you?" "That's right. Are you asking me because you have no idea? For the former princess by the queen all her life while growing up." Such grumpiness was just as cute for her. She said, "I thought about it just in case." But I guess it was territorial. Choo-Choo acknowledges the difficulty of going against Jean due to her background. However, there was confidence in her potential, being the daughter of a recognized merchant in the empire. It's no surprise that she'll be an unofficial maid no matter what she does. The kids next to me also said that to Jean, "I followed her around like that because I wanted to get something out of it." Even so, a kid like her who doesn't work properly can keep moving forward by just trusting her backup. What a damned world. An apprentice maid like me. Because of her size and strength, she is expected to be a promising talent within the maids. Sina said, "Since I don't have that kind of backup, I can't guarantee that I'll become an official maid." Choo-Choo said, "Still, if a foreigner comes to the imperial palace as a trainee maid, she is sure there'll be someone to help." In her thoughts, she considered the crown prince, who had made her a princess from a defeated country, a maid in the empire. She pondered whether it was out of pity or amusement, and when asked if she had anyone to rely on, she hesitated before truthfully answering that there was no one. The narrative shifted to the prince, who inquired about Siana's well-being from Saul, Rashid's escort driver. Saul reported that Siana was adjusting well, despite her initial clumsiness due to a lack of labor experience. He praised her sincerity, intelligence, and quick learning abilities, though he noted that becoming an official maid would take time. Curious about the prince's apparent concern, Saul questioned why he cared so much about Siana. The prince admitted uncertainty, suggesting it might be due to a sense of remorse. He acknowledged being responsible for trampling on her country and causing the death of her family. Saul, surprised by the prince's sudden empathy, remarked on his inherent weakness for small, big-eyed, harmless beings, revealing the prince's love for animals. Yes, this cruel and beautiful man is an animal lover. Reflecting on Saul's observation, the prince expressed his hope for Siana's success as an official maid and a wish for her to be placed in a good position. Saul questioned if the prince wanted him to look after her, reminding him that Siana was still a trainee maid with unproven abilities, making it impossible to grant her official status. The prince said, "You are right." Saul asked for a test of her abilities to determine her potential. As the chapter concluded, the prince seemed intrigued by the idea. As the day dawned without any meat yet again, Siana pondered how to savor their meal with elegance, unconcerned about the topics of conversation. "We can eat however we like. It's like heaven," she mused silently. But before she could revel in the thought, Genia's voice cut through the air from behind. "Maybe it's because you come from a ruined country," she sneered, "but you seem to eat this type of trash well." Siana felt the sting of Genia's words. Is she just teasing me, or is there something deeper? Jean, frustrated by Siana's lack of reaction, muttered, "What's up with this girl? Usually when I do this, others cry." As Genia's frustration simmered, Choo-Choo stormed into the scene, her face twisted with anger as she forcefully stabbed a fork into the table. Gina's gaze shifted, her eyes narrowing as she addressed Choo-Choo. "I've let you off the hook a few times, and now you don't even recognize your ally, interfering in others' business. It seems like you don't know your place because of your size, but I am the leader here." Siana observed the tense exchange, feeling a mixture of amusement and apprehension. Jean, with her sharp tongue, and Choo-Choo, with her imposing presence, seemed like a bear and a hyena, locked in a fierce confrontation. As tension crackled in the air, a voice from beyond the door pierced the uneasy silence. It was the head maid of apprentices, her concern evident as she questioned, "What's wrong with the atmosphere here? Did you guys just fight?" The response came in nervous denials. "No, of course not." The head maid waved off their protests with a dismissive gesture. "I don't care if you pull each other's hair out or get physical. Just don't cause trouble for me." Relieved, they nodded in agreement. Then came the unexpected news. The higher-ups had issued a sudden notice. A tea party was on the horizon, and they were tasked with greeting the guests. Us, the apprentice maids, they asked incredulously. The head maid's stern expression softened momentarily as she explained the importance of adhering to strict street etiquette rules and avoiding any mistakes. This role was usually reserved for the best apprentice maids. Their minds raced with speculation. Who would grace the tea party? Would it be a noble's elegant wife, or perhaps a beautiful foreign princess? The prospect of mingling with high society ignited both excitement and apprehension within them. The headmaid explained that the guests for the upcoming tea party were the fruit growers supplying the imperial palace. The apprentices were taken aback by this revelation. These women always provided exceptional fruits to the palace, hence the decision to honor them with a tea party. With a sense of duty, the apprentices were reminded to be punctual for their training sessions leading up to the event. Jenny found herself excited about the tea party. However, she couldn't fathom why she had to serve these women. She said to Sienna, "That type of job is perfect for someone like you. When will ever have the opportunity to act like a maid? If it weren't for those people." Sienna couldn't help but question the use of apprentice maids for serving non-noble guests. After all, it seemed impractical to waste the official maid's time on such tasks. Nonetheless, she found the situation a bit peculiar. The next morning arrived, and the head maid announced that they would be learning tea etiquette. Despite being apprentice maids, they represented the palace and were expected to uphold its reputation. With eager affirmations, they pledged to do their best. Choo-Choo, filled with enthusiasm, expressed gratitude for the opportunity to engage in maid work, even before officially becoming maids. Her excitement was palpable, but as the day progressed, it became clear that enthusiasm didn't always translate to skill. The head maid reprimanded Choo-Choo for letting the tea splash while pouring, prompting her to apologize with a worried expression. Others laughed, teasing her for her clumsiness and suggesting she was more accustomed to beer than tea, given her father's tastes. Choo-Choo's frustration simmered. Next up was Jean, who executed the task flawlessly. Impressed, the head maid praised her, remarking that she seemed seasoned in the art of tea service. Jean modestly attributed her skill to being taught by the town's most renowned etiquette teacher. She boldly declared her aspirations to rise beyond apprentice status, aiming to become the head maid and serve the empress herself. Sienna, in her mind, there is no doubt it's not bad. Considering it's your first time as an apprentice maid, the best of the best are chosen carefully, and the minute they make a mistake, they would be punished by the queen right then and there. And those maids try at their best to be more elegant than any other noble lady, and serve tea as calmly as possible, in order to not to get on the queen's nerves. But compared to that, everyone here is too clumsy. Meanwhile, next, Sienna's turn came. Head said, "Come here and try serving the tea." But Sienna doesn't want to stand out by doing something unnecessary. She pours the tea and keeps it thin and long, a little clumsy and crude. That's how she wants to be here, so she must stay quiet. Everyone was excited because they were going to greet the guests for the first time, but after training in the mornings, we had to go back to our assigned places and finish the tasks that we weren't able to do in the morning, like cleaning, keeping the fire lit, laundry, and washing dishes. After finishing their morning class, they returned to their work. Cook said, "Good work today, everyone," and gave a snack made up of leftover bread, a daily delicacy for the hungry apprentice maids. Sienna happily said, "Thank you." This is why she works in the kitchen. She's so relieved that she was assigned here. Sienna noticed Choo-Choo was upset and she wasn't very talkative today, and asked Choo-Choo, "Are you not hungry?" Choo-Choo asked Sienna how we are learning right now. Is it difficult? Sienna said not really, but she didn't get in a lot of trouble. Choo-Choo said, "Really, I'm jealous." Sienna thinks Choo-Choo got scolded the most during the tea lesson today. This is her first time seeing Choo-Choo, who always gets praised, struggles so much with something. This must be her first hardship.
Choo-Choo mentions that it's upsetting, but as Jean said that she never drank things like tea, she states that she also does not have the ability to be good at something after only learning it for a while. She continues that everyone must have known what she's the worst at. They must be worried that she'll worsen the mood of the customers. Sienna ponders that the crown prince is the one who made her a maid, but the only person that stands besides her is Choo-Choo, who is also a maid like her. She thinks that is why, if there is anything that she can help with, it's right for her to help her. Sienna asks Choo-Choo if she wants to get special training from her. Choo-Choo questions special training. Sienna states that Choo-Choo is going to practice with her during every break every day, and by doing so, she'll definitely improve her skills. Chuchu asks if Siana is saying that she wants to teach her. She suddenly hugs Siana, telling her that she's so nice. Chuchu states that Siana has only been cleaning like a mad movement with a calm expression, so she thought she was thoughtless. Siana wonders if that is a compliment or an insult. Since then, every day and every night they do their training. After dinner in the maid's kitchen, heat the teapots and cups and boil as much water as you need. Add a spoonful of tea leaves. The process itself isn't hard to learn. After putting the leaves, pour it all at once, filter it out with a strainer, and it's done. One needs a lot of practice to master it. Chuchu nervously looks at it as Siana tells her that she did really well. And she improved a lot. She did not mistake the steps, so at least she won't look like someone who is making a fool of herself in front of the guests. Chuchu asks if she really did well. Siana responds, of course, as this time she didn't even spill a drop of coffee. Chuchu tells Siana that this is all thanks to her, as she is much better at teaching compared to the other maids. Siana tells Chuchu that it's all because of her hard work, as she is a very diligent person. She is aware that as she was teaching her, they became much closer than before. Chuchu means that she came from a mine village in the east and her father is a miner, but he has to feed all his 13 kids, so he always works without any rest. Siana questions 13 kids. Knowing that is a huge family. She mentions that her family is loud and harmonious, but it's hard to make ends meet. She wanted to help, so she applied for maid and ended up here. She heard that if you become an official maid, your wage is pretty good. Siana responds that she sees mentioning that she's a very kind daughter. Chuchu questions that as a kind daughter, isn't it obvious that she wants her younger siblings to eat as much meat as they want? She asks Siana how did she end up here? As if she had come from abroad, then she must be having more complicated situation that she do. Siana responds that is true. She know that stating that a while ago she was a princess of a small kingdom would only create things more complicated. She states that His Excellency the Crown Prince assigned her as a maid because he pitied her who is sad because she lost her country. Chuchu asks if it is the Crown Prince, then is she talking about the Crown Prince Rashid, that bloody Crown Prince who has never lost in a battlefield? Siana tells her yes, as Chuchu asks if that's true. Chuchu is astonished as Sania ponders that she heard the other maids gossiping, so she's aware of it, but he is really famous. She mentions that she heard that His Excellency, the Crown Prince's face, is more than beautiful than a sculpture. His hair that shines brightly when sunlight hits it, his violet eyes that are as bright and vivid as the Milky Way. She heard that his features are unrealistically beautiful. Chuchu really wants to see him, as Siana mentions they is right. She thinks that the rumors must be true. Chuchu states that unlike his good looks, she heard that he is very clear and asks if that is true. Siana mentions that is also very true. As he killed an entire family, Chuchu mentions that she's sorry as she shouldn't have said that. She didn't know that such a terrifying thing happened. Siana thinks that if she tells her the truth before stating that it is all right, and she doesn't care anymore, as those family that she called family has only tortured her entire life. Chuchu begins to cry as she questions that how could Siana not care when her family was killed. She hugs Siana, telling her that she should be the one killed for mentioning it. It turns out that's all Siana is thinking, as she knows that if she tells Chuchu, then she will react like that. Siana tells her that time has passed, so she is all right now, and so Chuchu doesn't need to worry about it. Chuchu mentions that Siana is saying that just so Chuchu doesn't feel bad about it, right? She places her hands on Siana's shoulder, mentioning that she is a very kind person. She hugs Siana, telling her she's very kind. Siana told her all the truth. Since that day, Chuchu's actions towards her have completely changed. Then, afternoon during cleaning time, Jean was trying to tease Siana. Chuchu came immediately and said, try saying one bad thing to her. She'll stretch that mean mouth of her like a cheese and tie it to that pole over there. Jean said, just wanted to ask about what time it was. You are very funny. Then she left. Not only that, she always gives her some food and says she is already big, so you should eat a lot and grow more. She's amazed by the taste as she mentions that it's sweet. Chuchu mentions that it's very sweet and better than some rotten bread. Chuchu curses the Crown Prince, thinking that how could he unalive the family of such a sweetie. She finds him a psycho killer. She hopes that he accidentally poops his pants, mistaking it for a fart. Siana can hear Chuchu's inner voice, knowing that it's very obvious. Siana ponders that she kind of feels guilty for making her hate the crown prince, but it feels nice to have someone by her side. She thinks that if he is that bad of a person, he must hear these curses a lot of times on a daily basis. She thinks that it's fine to act like she doesn't know anything. Next, the scene changed to Prince and Saul. Saul gave him a letter sent to him by Baroness Appleton. Prince was acting weird. Saul asked, "Why are you acting like that, Your Highness? My ears are itchy all of a sudden. Someone must be cursing at me. This is superstition if your ears are itchy when someone talking behind your back." Saul said, "No way, if that was true, your ears wouldn't stop getting itchy. Your ears would have been itchy all year around, that you would roll on the floor scratching them." Prince was eating an apple. Saul thought, looking at those apples, "It looks tasty," and said, "As I thought, Appleton's apples are the best." Prince said, "I agree with you, but no matter how good the apple tastes, you won't call the farmers to the palace just to compliment them. Let me guess. You're trying to test Siana with that apple, right?" Saul said, "That's right. Yes, what's the prize?" Prince said, "He'd give him the honor of being able to play with my lovely little kids for half a day." Saul said, "I'm sorry, but I refuse. It's worse than not giving anything. That's unfortunate. Poor you. You don't know how cute these kids are." Coincidentally, Baroness Appleton is happy to attend the tea party. Prince said he can't wait for tomorrow.
Starts on the day of the tea party. Because the imperial family's status should not be reduced due to lackluster preparations, the apprentice maids who had to wait on the guests were much busier than usual, tidying up the uneven lawn early in the morning, placing white tables according to the number of guests. On top of that, placing the hydrangeas that were trimmed this morning so the table was not too plain. Princess was enjoying looking at the beautiful flowers, and Chuchu asked, "Did you hear? It turns out not only the workers that are coming today, but Baroness Appleton, the owner of the orchard, is coming too. So apart from welcoming the first guests, the aim is to impress the noble Baroness." Then Chuchu and Siana saw Jean. She was so beautiful, even her hairpin and makeup were amazing. Chuchu said, "But isn't it too much?" Siana said, "Is that why you are being like this? To impress the Baroness? Rather than for that, she's her first guest as a maid." Chuchu said she too, even if just a little bit, she wanted to do something to look pretty. Well, that's a wonderful way of thinking. It would be great if her service was just as great as her attitude. Siana said, "Don't worry, she is sure you will do great, as a great teacher taught you." Chuchu said, "Yes, and because I am a great student, let's do this." Just as the front gates open and the guests enter, the maids welcome them with their greetings. Lady guests amazed, "Wow, is this the imperial palace they were talking about for such a tea party?" They wore their best clothes, but still. One maid said, "Ladies, I will show you the way to your table." When the greetings are over, the maids go out one by one. They escort their guests to their tables. Jean was waiting for Baroness Appleton. Siana asked her why she wasn't going. Jean said, "Is it you again?" Jean worried about why Baroness Appleton was not coming. She asked Siana, "You want to serve Baroness Appleton, don't you? Your intentions are so obvious." Siana thinks it's not just Jean, this whole atmosphere. The maids who serve the guests have an aristocratic aura. Guests say thanks to them for their warm welcome. Guests are talking about, "Indeed, the maids of the imperial palace are different, so elegant. Right, just like a noble." Siana ponders, as the guests are of the working class, it's easy. They are not important. The tea party begins only when all guests arrive, and usually in the end, the protagonist who everyone was waiting for appears. Baroness Appleton. Everyone amazed. Jean welcomed her to the imperial palace's tea party. She rudely said to other maids she would be taking care of this person. Everyone else back off. Jean said to her, "Please follow me, madam. I will show you to your seat." Siana observes and thinks a rich rose fragrance. Is it Age Lane rose wine? Although it's a popular perfume among the ladies, she thought Baroness Appleton was of unsophisticated nobility. With such a fragrance, it appears she is richer than expected. Others saw her and they felt, "Heavens, how is she so pretty?" Siana wonders how amazing it must be to be the wife of a baron who owns an orchard on the outskirts of the capital. She was so envious of Jean for having such a pretty guest. Then she heard some whispering about one old person. She thought even though she could serve an ordinary person, no matter if not a baroness. Someone said she didn't want to serve such an ugly person. Siana welcomed her. "Welcome to the imperial palace." She said she would guide her to the table. Please follow me. There were 3 to 4 sit at each table, and 1 maid serves them. After all guests are seated, the tea party finally begins. Guests were talking to each other. They never thought they would be able to attend such an event in my life. It's not just a tea party, it's a tea party at the Imperial Palace. Another said me as well. She thought she would die of old age after picking apples all my life. But now she gets to enjoy this luxury. She will be bragging to her husband about that as soon as she gets home. He's probably going to die from envy. Siana ponders their conversations are plain. They are simply being honest, with no gossip. It's not the conversation of slander for someone else. Maybe that's why her stressed mind was so at ease. Then Siana brought and presented them. This is today's dessert. She said this is chocolate made from cacao from Kana. Just put it in your mouth and it will slowly melt. They discussed that is the famous chocolate. The chocolate the queens and princesses eat. That's so delicious that even a grumbling prince would stop whining. They've only heard of it, but didn't think they would get the chance to eat it. One of them ate 1 bite and felt a huge wave named sweetness. It's so sweet that it's melting on her tongue. She was like, what should she do? It kept getting smaller. It was so tasty that she didn't want it to end. Siana thought if it is her first time seeing chocolate, this reaction is understandable. She knows what she's going through. With that, she wanted to see other guests' reactions, whether they liked it or not. Siana asked that old lady, would you like to take care of the chocolate that is over your hands? You can use this to wipe it. The old lady looked with a confused face. She again asked, would you like me to clean it up for you? The old lady turned back and said no. Other ladies asked if they would also need a handkerchief. They were talking about that's so shameful, that's so tasty that she lost herself for a moment. They said instead of noble ladies and princesses, are you embarrassed that you have to serve us country bumpkins instead? Siana said there is no such thing. She will give one to everyone. They are all precious guests in her eyes. Please enjoy the tea party peacefully. If you would like, I will pour some tea for you now. If you want anything else, please let me know. One said she would like some, and another one also said she too. Siana pours teas into their cups. She smelled that tea and said it definitely smells good. It's probably because it's the tea used by the imperial family, right? Another girl said, I don't see the difference from the tea I drink at home. It just tastes like black tea to me. They say that you have to consume good things often to know them. She asked, what would we know? So from the people here, I guess only one person would know, right? That is Baron Appleton, the orchard owner, right? Siana said, I'm sorry, we didn't give the names of all the guests. But don't you know how Baroness looks? In fact, Baroness Appleton got married recently. That girl said she hadn't been to the orchard yet, so she had never seen her before. I heard that the Baron fell in love at first sight, so I wondered how pretty she is, and really she is pretty. Siana thought a person who has learned the etiquette of a noble from start to finish. I guess Baroness Appleton is such a person. Jean will have to listen carefully and make no mistakes. If she makes someone like that mad, the tea party will turn into chaos. Gina in her mind, yes, everyone looks at this. The person I am serving is in a different league than the other guests. I'm Jean, the daughter of a diamond merchant. This is the person that I should be serving. She said to the princess, this is chocolate that is made at the Imperial Palace. It's a highly valuable dessert that is rarely found. Try it. How long are you going to treat me like this? Princess said your arrogant greetings and judgmental gaze. I even endured the sight of my dessert being given to me like a simple treat. Even your tea pouring skills are so poor. How long do I need to tolerate this rudeness? Jean with a worried face said, I will try to pour your tea properly this time. I was a bit careless. Jean pondered she learned how to pour tea directly from a noble. She was also praised by the maids for being good at it. Princess said so the skill of a maid in the Imperial Palace only amount to this. What should I do about this? It's said that a maid who doesn't do her duties well will be severely punished. Being caned all night long for you to not make a mistake again. Your tongue will be cut off. So what punishment should you receive? Jean was so afraid and was trembling. At that time, Siana came and said, forgive us, madam. Because of our insufficient skills, we didn't live up to the madam's noble standards. Please be so kind as to forgive us. Princess said if everything was resolved by simply bowling and apologizing, how easy would the world we live in be? Do you want me to tolerate more of this? Why should I? Siana said this is a tea party hosted by the imperial family. If the tea party ends with the invited guests displeased, Wouldn't that offend the one who organized it? I don't think Madam would like for this to happen either. Princess said, are you threatening me right now? Siana said, how dare I do something like that to a precious guest like you, Madam? As a maid, this is my simple request to make the guest feel better. Princess said, all right, but if you don't satisfy me, the anger that was aimed at the one who deserves it will be aimed at you. Siana said, I understand. Your Majesty, it's been a while since I have tasted Princess Siana's tea. Doesn't her tea taste amazing? The eyes of a wild animal looking at its prey. That's nice, Siana. Good tea, the moment where even the smallest mistake was not tolerated. It's something that was life and death. After all this time, why do I remember it now? What's important now is the tea prepared is Earl Grey from Ingrid. She asked, would you like some? Siana starts the process of making tea step by step. Tea leaves are important if we're talking about the taste of black tea. What raw materials are used is vital, but also the right amount. Because there is no way to weigh the right amount with no scale, that might make the tea too bitter or too plain. Don't overfill the spoon, make sure the tea leaves are spread evenly with no clumps. At the proper temperature and 4, 3, 2, 1. Right at the proper time. The tea prepared is Earl Grey from Ingrid. She asked Princess, would you like some? Light the kettle high so as to let the aroma blend in with the air, make the aroma richer. Be careful not to splash any of the liquid into the glass. With a gentle movement. The temperature of the water and the amount of tea leaves are perfect. If the consistency doesn't suit your taste, please let us know. But taste is a subjective thing. No matter how good the tea leaves are or how well they are brewed. Siana worries and thinks if it doesn't fit her taste. Then what will happen? Princess said, splendid. Siana happily said, I did it. I am glad that you like it, madam. If you need anything else, please let us know at any time. She said, yes, please take care of me. Jean was jealous. And the tea party, which was full of tension and excitement, ended with no issues. Now time for goodbye. They said, please travel safely. Those ladies called Siana, and she said I should have been with you until the end. I am truly sorry I was not able to do it. That lady said, oh, no need. What would have happened if the Baroness got even angrier? I was so scared that I couldn't even enjoy the chocolate. We were all able to peacefully enjoy this party thanks to you. Thank you so much. Thank you for your understanding. Please travel safely. Okay, you too, stay healthy. Siana asked the old woman, is there anything you would like to say to me? She said, oh, that is honestly, I thought about this a lot. You can see how I look. Am I not only going to hear bad words when in the Imperial Palace? I was scared. But still, something completely unexpected happened. I mustered up the courage to come. I drank fragrant tea, ate sweet chocolate, and had fun talking with people. I will never forget this day for the rest of my life. Thank you so much for giving me such memories, maid. Since ancient times till now, a maid has never shown any personal feelings to guests. They are just supposed to be polite. Siana was so happy in her thoughts. She said, it's my honor to serve such a precious guest. Princess listened to all conversions and was amazed. Once the tea party was over, the daily routine of the maid began again. Preparing for the banquet from early in the morning, serving the guests in the scorching heat of the sun, and after that, cleaning up until the sunset. This is the life of the normal maid, but in fact, the life of an apprentice maid is like this. Everyone worked hard, let's take a break. At the same time, Siana was eating chocolate. Chuchu asked, it's nice to be able to have leftovers, right? Siana was busy enjoying the chocolate of the Imperial Palace. She asked Chuchu, you are not eating. She said, if I eat such sugary things, I will lose muscle mass, so I won't. You can eat it. Siana said, you must be having a hard time. Chuchu asked, you were watching. At the time of the tea party, 2 girls were impressed by seeing Chuchu's big biceps muscles and said this is exactly the talent they need for our farm. Siana asked, are you planning on quitting being a maid to be a farmer? Chuchu said they were not interested in my serving skills, so at that time someone called Siana from behind. They said you were amazing earlier. It's cool how you dealt with that. Siana said thank you. She asked, can you teach me how to serve tea? Another one also asked me as well. First girls said I said it first. Why are you interfering? They started fighting. Well, the thing is, before they ignored Siana when they heard she was from a ruined kingdom. Jean came and said you guys are mad. So far, she has only been good at serving tea. And how can you bow down to a slave from a ruined kingdom? Don't you have any pride? They said, Jean, do you know what shame is? Jean asked what? She said, I thought you knew as you stayed silent the whole time during the tea party. The party was almost ruined because of you embarrassing yourself in front of the Baroness. Such a shame that Siana took care of it. We could all get punished because of you if unlucky. We could get fired from our job as apprentice maids. Instead of apologizing, you are saying such things. You should be more aware of the situation you are in. Jean got angry and said, I guess good luck with your bumpkins then. After that, Siana said to Choo-Choo Baroness Appleton was indeed on a different level than the other guests. Even her sitting posture was so elegant. Choo-Choo agreed with her. Not just the posture. Her walk and her movements while drinking tea. There was such dignity in all her gestures, like not just because she's a baroness. The scene changed to Prince's door. Someone was coming towards the gate. Saul asked who's there, showing his sharp knife. Madam, if you keep on coming to His Royal Highness room like this, it will become an issue. She said, oh my, I am so scared. However, how can I forget His Highness? Saul says forget it, and thinks he's a weird man who looks fine on the outside, but only thinks about the soft soles of the squirrel's feet. Yes, Baroness Appleton was none other than the prince himself. He apologized to him. Prince said, why? Go on. I find it quite interesting. But Saul said that's not funny. Prince said, what a shame, so Nate, the best knight in the Empire. Now move out of my way. I wanted to see you cry and admit that you did something wrong. Saul said, haha, such scary words. Prince asked his pets, did you wait long, Qite? His pets got excited after watching him and greeted him by making cute noises. Then Saul came and said he'd prepare the bath water. Prince took off his clothes and said buying magic stones worth more than a mansion just to dress up as a woman for half a day. He used magic stone ultra luxury level that transforms the body for half a day. Then Prince took a bath and sat in the bathtub. Saul asked, how was your visit today? Did Siana reach your expectations? Prince said he did think she'd be good at it up to some extent, but she exceeded his expectations. It won't be easy for someone who was a princess just a few months ago to replicate the etiquette of a maid. However, the position of the arm, the shape of the hand holding the teapot, and a face that lowers its head weakly avoiding eye contact. She's unbelievably perfect. It's as if things written in the etiquette book have been perfectly replicated, and her grace that cannot be concealed even in a maid's uniform. It was fun. Saul in his mind, this crazy, what is this idiot even saying? What kind of a man is Rashid? No way, don't tell me he's bringing her to the crown prince's palace. What nonsense is that? He'll keep a princess from a defeated country as his exclusive maid. It can't be, that's too much. Saul said, I don't know if you forgot, but I'm here to remind you that Siana's family and country have been trampled by you. Although she's calm right now, she may do something outrageous in the future for revenge. Prince said he had already tasted her abilities. The next scene changes to Siana showing her embroidery skill to others, and everyone is impressed. The head maid came and said, Siana, we have a guest. Baroness Appleton wishes to tell you something. Siana shocked. She pondered the tea party seemingly went well. What could it be? Did she make a mistake? She was tensed and entered that room and greeted her. Baroness was sitting on the chair and drinking tea. Baroness said, I'm sorry for coming to see you so suddenly. Were you surprised, Maid Siana? I shall greet you properly this time. She turned around and said greetings once again, Maid Siana. It's not something special, but I want to convey my feelings. Would you spare me some of your time? Yes, she was the same old lady. Siana was shocked when she looked at Baroness Appleton. Baroness said, would you like to sit down and talk first? Siana said yes and pondered, is she really Baroness Appleton? Then what about that other noble lady? Siana said tensely, my apologies, my lady. I have made a horrible mistake unknowingly. I am truly sorry. If I caused any discomfort for you, my lady. Baroness smiled and said, don't worry about it. I'm the one who hid my identity. Then the backstory begins. She got an invitation. A tea party hosted by the imperial family. It's an opportunity that may never come again. But she was confused if she should attend or not because she was insecure about her looks. She already knows what kind of rumors will spread if she goes to the imperial palace looking like this. How could someone named Baroness Appleton be so hideous? She created the scenario in her mind like what people would say. It's like she belongs with the farmers in my orchard. She was so worried and sad. Another letter came from the imperial family. There it was written when attending the tea party, "We ask that you keep your identity a secret." Then she became happy and thought, this is my chance. It felt sweet like a ripe apple. If she hides her identity, no one will bother her. After the tea party, she thinks about Siana. Even when she's clad in the shabby gray uniform and without any makeup on her face, she shines with a dignity that can't be concealed. She was very impressed with that maid that day. She thought how much she would like to be as elegant as her. So she started studying Quet. The day after the tea party, she remembers how much fun she had at the tea party, thanks to the maid who took care of her whenever she was afraid. In that sense, she'd like to greet her in a less formal way. "I was really grateful to you for that day." Siana pondered with teary eyes what kind of a baroness in this world would give an apprentice maid such a greeting. She saw her the angle of the arm and hand position. Improper stance. It's a mess. But still, the character she can feel from her. Even though it is just a greeting, it shows what kind of person she is. She took the basket respectfully and said she would always remember and be grateful for the kindness that she showed her. Then she went. All the maids were eating apples, and they said, "How can apples taste so sweet?" Then one said she'll eat 2, another one said she'll eat 3, and Siana said, "Shut up, it's all mine." To the maids who worked hard every day and only ate hard bread, in their hearts, Baroness Appleton who gave honey apples. They said with tears, "We love you." Baroness Appleton became a goddess. Siana was thinking while eating delicious apple about that lady. Is that noble lady also a member of the royal family? Is she a princess or what? Headmaid came and said even if the world were to perish right now, I'd still make sure to eat the last remaining from the tree. As of today, Siana is promoted from an apprentice maid to an official maid. After hearing this shocking news, the apple slipped from Siana's hand. Jean instantly stood up and protested, asking the head maid for an explanation of this decision. The head maid discloses that the tea party a few days ago was a test to see their abilities. She then asks if they all clearly know who stood out the most that day. She says she won't accept any more questions and tells Siana to go to the Ruby Palace once the sun is up tomorrow. There, she will be serving Princess Eris. The head maid then leaves without saying another word. Siana knew everyone dreamed of becoming an official maid. She joined the latest, but is the only one who got acknowledged. She wanted to stay low, but her plans were ruined now. And she's certain that in this situation, everyone will turn against her. She sighs, knowing she will have to get used to all the hate she will receive from now on. However, the other apprentices start clapping and congratulating her. They confess that, though they are a bit upset, they are happy for her. Siana smiles sincerely and thanks them. She had forgotten for a moment that these people were different from the ones she knew before. She promises to treat them all to a meal once she gets her first paycheck. They get interrupted by an angry Jean, who asks if they all have gone crazy and how it doesn't make sense for someone with unclear birth and identity to be an official maid before her. Her concerns aren't well received, especially by Choo-Choo, who debunks her. Jean tearfully blackmails them about how she will go tell her dad about them. She then leaves while the maids get back to eating the leftover food. As Siana later lay in bed, she tried getting used to the feeling of becoming an official maid of the Empire. This is much better than when she was a princess. It's exhausting, but she really enjoys it. Suddenly, Choo-Choo enters her room and shows her a congratulatory gift she has for her for being an official maid, hoping Siana will like it. Choo-Choo pins it to her hair, telling her not to feel inferior when she goes. Siana feels touched. She knows Choo-Choo doesn't get paid much for an apprentice maid, but she still gives her the hairpin, probably using her savings. She could tell even without saying anything, as if someone were squeezing her heart. Seeing Siana cry, Choo-Choo worriedly asks if she doesn't like it, explaining how she told the seller to pick the prettiest one. Siana instantly hugs Choo-Choo and sincerely thanks her. Choo-Choo smiles fondly, saying it is what friends do. Choo-Choo's heart is warm, which makes Siana think there will only be good things happening in the future. On the other hand, the head maid wonders why Princess Eris requires another maid when she already has her own exclusive maid. The former exclusive maid reveals she quit because she couldn't stand it and how doing petty jobs is much better. It is because the maid who can serve the princess doesn't exist, at least not in the Empire. The next morning, Siana gets ready to start her day as the official maid of the empire, being optimistic that she will only walk on the flowery path from now on. She makes her way to the Ruby Palace and is surprised to learn from another maid how the other maids ran away, and if she had the chance to do it, she would as well a long time ago. Siana asks if the princess is very picky. The maid reveals that she's not picky, but is the most vicious devil in the empire. The emperor fell in love at first sight with a dancer, Rosemary. He gave her a small palace with a small garden connected to it as a dowry, the Ruby Palace. The daughter of Rosemary, the 7th princess of the empire, lives there. Siana is flabbergasted to see the shady-looking palace and makes her way doubtfully. The other maid knocks on the princess's room door, and the princess tells them to enter. Siana wonders if the princess is being given this sort of treatment since she's a child with low blood. As soon as they enter, a spider greets them, causing the other maid to faint in terror. To be able to grow up pretty and strong in such an environment is something that Siana has seen happen only in fairy tales. The princess frowns, asking Siana why she has not reacted. Siana apologizes, saying she was surprised and will show her the reaction she wants right now. Eris becomes confused as Siana takes a deep breath and becomes frightened. She then introduces herself as the new maid and smiles, making Eris wonder why she isn't scared. She runs away, calling her no fun. She then tells her to go out right now, as she doesn't like having maids. As Siana walks out of the room with the other maid, she wonders what just happened. The other maid soon wakes up and expresses her gratitude for Siana being appointed as a maid. She reveals how she's all free thanks to her, as she always wanted to escape this horrible place. She then leaves, telling her to take care of the princess and just do the other things when she feels like it must be done, as there's only her and that devilish kid here anyway. Despite being nervous, Siana is determined to do her job. She focuses on cleaning what she can for now, and the result is indeed rewarding for her. Eris remarks that she's doing useless things. Hearing her voice, Siana approaches her and bows, asking if there is anything she wants her to do for her. She tells her not to act all nice. She was annoyed to see Siana treating her like a real princess, as no one had ever done that to her. She yells that she will leave her in the end too, once she sees a chance. In the meantime, Saul wonders why Khalid sent Siana to the Ruby Palace of all places, but he knows it is better than bringing her here. Khalid smiles as he thinks about how cute Siana's smile is. He knows the Ruby Palace is nearby and hopes to meet her soon. On the other hand, Siana says that it was supposed to be a secret, confusing Eris. Siana says she is a paid worker, and it's only natural to work at a place that pays better, but as long as she's here, she promises to serve her the best. Eris kicks a dustbin, asking if she does this. Siana replies in the affirmative. Eris continues messing around, but turns bored as Siana continues replying yes to her questions. When Siana brings Eris her meal, she fusses about how she needs snacks, as vegetables and milk are horrible. She shows her skinny arms, saying she's healthy enough and is already 10 years old. Siana is shocked. She knows that no matter how difficult a child is, one should take proper care of them, even if one makes excuses for not being able to do it. She calms Siana down, softly explaining how if she keeps on eating like this, she could have major health problems, so she should eat her meal first, and she promises to give her snacks when she finishes eating. Eris thinks of Siana as weird. The next morning, Siana wakes up Eris with a morning song and brings her breakfast, but Eris tells her to leave since she's sleeping. Later, when Eris wakes up, she is pissed to learn that Siana ate the cream bread and grilled chicken on the menu, and now Eris is left with little food to eat. When questioned, Siana reveals that she just followed the royal family's laws. It is customary for the food left over by the royal family to be eaten by the attendants, and since the princess didn't eat breakfast, she ate it instead. Siana knows that feeding a child who's a picky eater is simple. She will use the "if you don't eat." Siana will eat all the delicious food operation. Eris continues fussing over breakfast, but Siana continues reiterating that this is the princess meal. Any child would eat well if they were made to realize the value of food like this. Siana knows this because she has been through it. That may have been abuse in her case, not education, though. After that, Siana continued the operation, and Eris learned to eat her meals properly. She then snorted that since the maids eat their master's leftovers, She has nothing left to eat today and will starve. But unlike Eris expected Siana to react, she got a pat on the head and was praised. After the meal issue was resolved, Siana moved towards cleanliness when Eris refused to take a bath, stating that she hates getting wet and being stung by the brush. Siana stated that she would attract bugs that like dirty things. She teases Eris about how bugs gnaw away at hair, poop, and sometimes fart too. She explains how the reason she's feeling something crawling and her hair itching is due to the sound of bugs gnawing. This was enough to convince Eris to take a bath. Eris only takes baths whenever there are royal events, but she hates being eaten by bugs even more. However, to her surprise, it doesn't hurt her as much as she thought it would. She finds it relaxing. In this way, Siana has Eris brush her teeth and dry her hair. She then puts her to bed and decides to read her a fairy tale. But Eris tells her to get out, as she wants to sleep. Siana says it's a shame since she wanted to help her highness sleep by reading an incredibly exciting and fun story. She begins to leave, but Eris tells her to wait and reluctantly agrees, telling her to make it short. Therefore, Siana kicks off telling the story. Once upon a time, there was a diamond princess. The diamond princess, as her name implies, loved sparkling diamonds. She collected diamonds from everywhere and decorated herself extravagantly from head to toe. The princess shone brightly. Then one day, the princess heard a rumor that the diamond owned by the evil dragon in the west was the hardest and most beautiful diamond in the world. The princess wanted that diamond so much that she went through thorny vines and a swamp. Then, she finally arrived at the dragon's tower. The dragon guarding the tower looked at the princess and said, "You are really beautiful. I will give you the diamond if you marry me." Eris yawns, saying she doesn't even know what she is talking about. Siana notices she is sleepy and kisses her goodnight, wishing her sweet dreams. She vows to help Eris grow healthy and strong because that is what Princess Eris's maid should do. For Eris, everything has changed ever since that maid came into the picture. She even promises to make her a pretty wreath after planting plenty of different kinds of flowers in the garden. Eris wonders why the maid is trying to treat her like a princess. She wonders if she has some kind of plan and contemplates a plot to have her reveal her true intentions. She notices Siana's hairpin on the ground and wears it. Siana notices her wearing the hairpin Chachu gave her and tells Eris that it's her hairpin, which she accidentally dropped. But Eris refused to give it back, stating that it was her now since it was her palace. Siana pleads with her to give it back, as that item is precious to her. However, Eris ran away, telling her to try taking it away if she wanted it that bad. She didn't expect Siana to run after her that fast either. Siana asks her not to play with other people's belongings because it's wrong and tells her to give them back. Eris, however, refuses and throws it in the water. The scene shifts to Eris dreaming. A maid Eris dearly cherished promised to take good care of her as a maid of the Ruby Palace. To Eris, she seemed like her mother. However, it turns out that the maid was charged with stealing from the Imperial Palace for her own greed. She was dragged away despite Eris telling the guards to stop her, and so the other maids began resigning as well, saying she was useless and had no power. Eris wakes up crying. She was certain Siana was like the rest and would leave her in no time and must have packed her bags. She should be abandoned now before she gets hurt later. However, she turns surprised as Eris enters her room to wake her up. She immediately turns her head away, so Siana cannot see her crying. Seeing how Siana didn't leave her even after that incident, Eris immediately hugs her and tearfully apologizes. She pleads with her not to hate her, and Siana says she doesn't. Siana sighs, saying that what she did yesterday hurt her a lot, and she understands that kids do get crazy from time to time. But now that she has received her apology, she is all right. Eris confesses that she must hate the Ruby Palace because she is the only maid and has all the burden of cleaning. Plus, the royal she serves is also useless. She promises to help Siana do the cleaning and laundry and share delicious food with her, and she asks her to stay here forever. Siana smiles and assures her she will since she's the princess maid. Since then, Princess Eris hasn't pulled any more pranks. Instead, she helped her with the gardening and the laundry. But Siana explains that studying is also important. However, she sees that the study has no paper or pencils. She asks the Imperial Guard, but he refuses to hand it out to her like this. Eris suggested talking to Brother Khalid since her mother was close to him. Siana agrees and decides to send him a letter. But she didn't expect him to make such an instant delivery. Instead of just sending a confirmation letter, he arrived at the Ruby Palace himself. Before Eris can snatch it from him, he tells her not to be impatient and that she should treat her guests before they leave. He reveals how he brought some with him. Siana had never thought she'd meet him like this. Plus, Khalid was looking at her, making her wonder if he even remembered her. But after she brews the tea and he praises her while calling her name, she realizes he remembers her after all. Seeing the two know each other, Eris asks about it. She is shocked to know her brother was the one who accepted Siana as a maid and sent her to the Ruby Palace. Eris asks why, and Khalid boldly reveals that it's because she's cute. This was enough of a reason for Eris, and she agreed with him. Saul reminds Khalid that it's time for the Royal Council and that he must go now. Khalid says he hasn't drunk tea yet, to which Saul says he has already emptied the entire teapot. He groans and hands Eris the confirmation letter. He then thanks Siana for getting him to drink delicious tea again. Enraged, Eris tells him to get out and stop being mean to her maid. When Siana later asks if the princess is close to the crown prince, Eris says they aren't, especially when they are competing for the throne. This makes Siana realize that imperial politics will remain intact despite familial bonds, making her unhappy for Eris. Meanwhile, Prince was too happy to see Siana, who still seemed like a cute squirrel to him. He reveals to Saul how Eris has finally opened her heart to Eris. He explains how, ever since Eris was born, he knew she, and he found the same things cute. And that applies to Siana as well. Siana and Chuchu coincidentally meet in front of the supply warehouse. They happily hug each other. Chuchu notices Siana wearing the hairpin she lost last time and asks about it. Siana reveals how Eris mentioned how she lost the hairpin the next time Prince Rashid came to visit. Before she could even request her brother to help her find it in the lake, he agreed. Siana reveals how the prince called 100 guards and drained the lake's water to retrieve the hairpin. Plus, he had given her a confirmation letter to take whatever she wanted. He had duped giving her soaps, candles, luxurious fabrics for the princess clothes, and many other things. As she tried pulling the heavy cart, she suddenly felt someone pushing from behind, and, to her surprise, it was the crown prince. Prince beamed at her and said he wanted to help her. But Siana reveals to Chuchu how she ran away, saying that the princess must be looking for her. She expresses her concern over His Majesty having a loose screw, as he sounds a bit crazy. They get interrupted as Eris arrives, complaining about how she's hungry. She drags Siana away and looks back at Chuchu to make a face. This is exactly why she doesn't want to even think of bringing another maid to the Ruby Palace. At the palace, Eris asks what she even likes about that friend of hers, and if it's because she's big and muscular. Hira says she likes her because she is sweet and kind, as well as because of what she says. She reveals how when she would spend ages carrying one bag of flour, Chuchu would carry 5 as if it were nothing. Eris pouts and orders Siana to give her more meat and milk starting today. Way more than that chop chop or chap chap, because she's going to become way bigger than her. Siana giggles at her cuteness. Soon enough, the crown prince arrived at the Ruby Palace yet again. Eris explained why he came, and the prince said he came to see that the pond was well maintained. Ares protested that he had come over 5 times already to check, but she got bribed to be silent after receiving yet more delicious cake and snacks. As they all go inside, Saul notices a presence in the distance. The hooded figure reports back to her master how Prince Rashid went to the Ruby Palace again, even bringing many snacks and sweets for Princess Ares. This was quite annoying for the maid's master, Yvette Levuin de Prat, the 5th princess. Her mother, the 5th empress, Verne, tells her to understand his position. But Yvette was angry that Eris was receiving special treatment despite being low in rank. She devises a plan to personally teach her little sister a lesson. Soon enough, Eris receives a letter from Yvette, who expresses her wish to have a nice conversation with her beloved little sister over a simple tea party. But Eris turns annoyed and curses at her. She calls Yvette irritating, knowing that she only intends to harass her again. Siana asks how she is tormenting her again. Eris reveals how, all throughout the tea parties, they were all giggling and making fun of all kinds of faults about her outfit and behavior, insinuating if she even had the right to be called a princess, since she doesn't know how to wear decent clothes or behave with proper etiquette. They say she is only a princess by title. Siana suggests she do something about it now that she has her. She tells Eris not to worry, as she will make all the preparations for the tea party and tell her everything. Eris suspiciously stares at her and asks who she is. Siana smiles, saying she is just a low-class maid from a defeated kingdom. Princess Eris exclusive maid. Up until now, Siana has postponed this since the princess didn't want to learn it. But she knew it couldn't continue like this. One must learn minimal etiquette to survive in the imperial palace, not just to show off to others. And so Eris began her lessons with Siana. Siana teaches Eris how to drink tea. She must not drink tea until the host asks her to do so, and she should also not make any noise while sipping. She should put her cup down after taking a sip without making any sound either. Eris wonders why drinking tea has to be so complicated, but complies with Siana. Siana praises Eris for doing well, which makes her motivated. She then curtsies, thanking her for serving her the tea. Siana claps and compliments her again, calling her a genius. Siana is aware that, unlike nobles, for whom moderate humility is a virtue, members of the royal family must be confident enough to avoid being ignored. Meanwhile, an uninvited guest found his way to the Ruby Palace yet again. Prince Rashid observes Eris and notices how she's a lot more poised as compared to before. He looks at Siana and whispers to her, asking if it was her. Siana notices how the prince has a keen eye. She contemplates asking for help from him for the cost of decorations, but decides against it. Knowing the princess doesn't want to be in debt either. After etiquette preparations were done, Siana helped Eris choose an outfit. She had been repairing a dress for Eris for days, and it was finally perfect. Eris confesses she likes it and asks Siana how she looks. Siana smiles, saying she is really pretty and like the rose fairy from mythology. Eris blushes and giggles in response. Eris says she looks pretty because she takes after her mother. Siana agrees and says that at today's party, she will be better than anyone else. As for the princess, she won His Majesty's heart with her charm because she was the beautiful and proud daughter of Lady Rosemary. Eris smiles and agrees. She takes Siana's hand, and they leave for the party. On the other hand, Yvette was sure that sleazy Eris was going to show up like a beggar again today. She imagines insulting Eris for eating with her bare hands and degrading the status of the royal family. She laughs, excited for today. Soon, Eris arrives and approaches Yvette. She curtsies, thanking her for the tea party's invitation. Seeing Yvette's shocked look, Eris continues smiling and asks what's wrong. And thus, this chapter draws to a close. Stay tuned to discover what unfolds next in the story. In the meantime, why not explore my other videos? Don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe to my channel for more captivating stories. Your support means the world to me.